Good morning, everyone. I just woke up about half an hour ago and saw that there was this absolutely massive text dump from Jagex mods in the league's Discord, basically outlining every single area unlocked, which includes quests unlocked, what content you're getting unlocked, the achievement diary unlocked, Slayer monster unlocks, basically the whole. Oh, yeah, basically like the whole core outline of what each area will unlock. And it's really nice because they're also giving a chance for the people in the league's Discord to kind of like proofread it and make sure everything's working as it should. And there's nothing that's, a little confusing or doesn't work properly. That way, when it actually comes out for the game, there's not going to be any issues the day of. But it's a pretty huge amount of information. You could see like this is just miscellaneous at the top. They had it as a notepad. I just uploaded to Notion, so it's a little easier to read. But yeah, you can see there's just a bunch of information here, and there's actually some really interesting things that are different than what people expected, and are actually a little bit meta changing. So we're going to be going over those because they're pretty huge. Okay, first and foremost, obviously, Desert Treasure 2 is unlocked by unlocking the desert. We kind of already knew that. We also know that the Leviathan from Guardians of the Rift is a desert unlock. Even though the Leviathan's in Misthalin, you're going to need the desert to unlock Guardians of the Rift and Desert Treasure 2 so you can go and do the Leviathan. However, they have announced that all Desert Treasure 2 bosses will drop all pieces of the Soulreaper Axe. Yes, that's right, ladies and gentlemen. The Soulreaper Axe is now available in Leagues 4. Previously, it wasn't because you needed 4 regions. You needed Zeah for Vardorvis, you needed Fremennik for Duke, you needed Ascarnia for Whisper, and you needed Desert to basically get all of them, as well as Leviathan. You needed all 4 of those for Soulreaper Axe. Obviously, we only get 3 regions, but now, so long as you've unlocked the desert, you will have access to the Soulreaper Axe if you want to go and farm out the Leviathan. Now, that's pretty cool. I think this might actually make a lot of interesting melee builds possible with the Soulreaper Axe. Again, it's not the best item in the game, but I could see some pretty unique stuff coming out of it with, maybe you have like Knife's Edge where you have low health and then you have some life steal so you're not dying. And maybe I don't know, you're taking less damage. I don't know. Maybe there's some really cool stuff coming out. But if you wanted to do a Soulreaper Axe build with melee, that is now possible. So give it a try. However, keep in mind that if you unlock the desert, farming the Leviathan might be kind of boring, might be kind of hard. So you may want to unlock another boss that will give you the drops, such as like Vardorvis from Zeah or Whisper from Ascarnia. That might be a little bit easier to farm based on your preferred combat style. Also, we don't quite know the intricacies of this drop table. Is it going to be just a 25% chance per piece, or is it going to be like the Abyssal Sire, where you're going to get the first piece, the second piece, the third piece, the fourth piece? We don't quite know that yet. I think they're trying to still figure that out. But I would probably guess that's what they're going to do. They're just going to give you one by one, because, if they want you to have the Soulreaper Axe, then, I think that's probably the direction they'll go. Now, we mentioned that they did talk about quest unlocks, and one of the biggest things that I noticed was King's Ransom is now unlocked in Kandarin. Now, you might wonder why that's actually important, like who really cares about King's Ransom? Well, King's Ransom is how you get Piety and Chivalry. Typically, you needed Kandarin and Ascarnia in order to complete King's Ransom, and so that you could go ahead and get Piety. Now, it's auto-unlocked in Kandarin, and if you have to go and do the Knights wave, like the Knights training ground or whatever, if you have to go and do that, that is also completely done in Kandarin. In Deadman mode, I think when you unlock King's Ransom, it just basically gave you Piety and Chivalry. You didn't have to go do the waves. So it might be the case here. But regardless, if you need to go and you need to go beat up, Sir Lancelot a couple times, then you can just go and do that. It's not, it's not the end of the world. You'll get your Piety through just Kandarin. How crazy is this? Well, I think it's really, really good for Kandarin as a zone itself. It just makes it so that you can go get Piety from Kandarin, another really huge unlock from Kandarin, which is already pretty cracked. However, for melee builds, Ascarnia is a crazy good melee zone anyways, because, you got God War's Dungeon, Bandos, you got Defenders, you got Nex, like, for Torva. Asgardia is a really crazy good zone for melee anyways, so you're probably still going to be going Kandarin and Asgardia if you're planning melee. However, if you're not going Asgardia, well, you can just go and consider getting Piety from Kandarin. You don't need both of those zones in case you're, off tasking or off combat styling, sorry. Now, previously, it has been mentioned that Kourend will not have access to barbarian fishing, and it seems like they've gone back and they've changed their mind on that because now, if you unlock Kebos and Kourend, you will get barbarian fishing and barbarian hosta training. Okay, why does that matter? Well, it actually is a case that on Mount Kidda Mortem, which is the Chambers of Zarek area, there actually are some barbarian fishing spots there. Don't really know why, but they do exist. And now, just by unlocking Zeah, you won't also need Kandarin. You don't have to go to Auto Grotto and do all of the barbarian fishing stuff. You'll just have that automatically. I don't know exactly how it works as far as like getting the barbarian fishing rod. Is that just going to be like, are you just going to find it in a bed somewhere else? But it seems like this is the direction that they want to go. They want to give you the option to barbarian fish over in Kourend if that's something you want to do. This is obviously really good just because it's, barbarian fishing's pretty good. It's also one of the fastest fishing methods if you do like 3-tick fishing and stuff like that. So it's just an extra bonus over to Kebos and Kourend without also needing Kandarin unlocked. Now, you also get barbarian hosta training. Now, why is that important? Well, one of the biggest drops that you can get from Kourend is the Dragon Hunter Lance from the Alchemical Hydra. It's a really crazy good weapon for killing dragons. And a lot of people are probably going to want to use it, right? Unfortunately, the Alchemical Hydra doesn't actually drop a Dragon Hunter Lance. She drops the Hydra Claw, which you then have to upgrade with a Zamorakian Hosta, which requires Barbarian Hosta training, and you have to go do it over at Otto and Kandarin. But that also requires a Zamorakian Spear, which you get from Asgarnia, from Krill in the God Wars dungeon. So to actually use your Dragon Hunter Lance, you would need Asgarnia, Kandarin, and Zeah, which is kind of a lot for a pretty big drop from just one area. The way it worked before in Twisted League was the Alchemical Hydra, she just dropped the Dragon Hunter Lance. You didn't have to go and make it. But hopefully with this, maybe they're considering at the very least allowing you to make the Dragon Hunter Lance on your own. Maybe you need to go get a Zamorakian Spear from Asgarnia, but then you don't need Kandarin to just like smash it on a anvil or something like that. So I'm not sure exactly what this means, but at the very least, it feels like they're going in the direction of trying to make the Dragon Hunter Lance a little bit more available for people who are going Kourend. I don't know if that's going to also require Asgarnia and stuff like that, but yeah, we'll see. But for now, I don't know exactly how Dragon Hunter Lance works, but hopefully they'll clear that up a little bit more. Again, we got a lot of people who are trying to give them feedback, trying to clarify things, and catch them on any weird things that might happen, so that when it's actually pushed out to everybody else, right? Well, sorry, not everybody else. Nobody has access to the game yet, but once people actually start playing Leagues 4, once that comes out next month, there's not going to be any like weird things or awkward situations. Okay, and finally, I did talk about how all of the Slayer monsters for every single zone have been announced. You also get boosted, like the uniques from every Slayer monster. So things like the imbued gem, things like the imbued heart, all that stuff. Those will all have boosted drop rates. Additionally, I was really curious how Konar would work because obviously Konar has the most unique table in the game. So she's got some pretty interesting stuff. And it seems like they said Konar will assign Slayer tasks based on the areas you have unlocked. This means you could receive any task she could assign normally, which is pretty huge. If she has basically full access to a lot of Slayer monsters now, because there's a lot of Slayer monsters in the Catacombs of Kourend. And if we actually go to like her list here, you can see that there's just a ton of monsters that she drops, and the possible locations are just going to be based on what things you have access to, right? So, for example, let's say you had Aberrant Specters as a Slayer monster, right? You can get them from the Catacombs of Kourend, which would be Zeah, the Slayer Tower, which would be Mauritania, and the Stronghold Slayer Cave, which would be Kandarin. But if you only had Zeah, she's only gonna like assign them to the Catacombs of Kourend. And there's a bunch of different monsters that she has. So we've got like, let's see, Abyssal Demons. You get those from Catacombs of Kourend. Like, she won't be able to do Adamant Dragons unless you have Lithcrin unlocked, which I think is a Fremenic technically, although it might be a Mistalin. I think it's a Fremenic though. She will have Dust Devils, so you'll be able to burst or do whatever you want with those in the Catacombs. Necreals are on this list. You'll be able to do those. Lizardmen, obviously. But basically a massive, massive amount of Slayer tasks from Konar. Konar is very, very powerful for Slayer. Of course, you'll also be getting your Brimstone keys. And again, those are just the big updates I've seen in this one. If I discover anything else more, if anything else comes out in the league's Discord, I'll be sure to update you guys. I just wanted to show you some of the stuff that I've found so far. Very, very excited because obviously this means that some of those, regional unlock guides are going to be updated to actually reflect what Jagex is planning on doing, and I love some of the new changes. Really can't wait to see people running with the Soulreaper Axe and doing some cool stuff there. So thank you guys for watching. The support lately has actually been crazy. The last video has been kind of popping off in the last 24 hours. It's actually been really crazy to see. And I'm gonna keep doing my best to get the information out to you guys. I got a couple new videos coming out soon. It's kind of been hard because I'm making videos and then stuff gets updated, so I have to go back and like re-edit it. It's a whole mess sometimes, but listen, I'm having a lot of fun. Leagues is just a month away, so hopefully you're all as excited as I am. Thanks so much, and I'll see you in the next video.